Let's talk about the absolute basics in deduction. Seems like there's a lot of people that misunderstand them, even other deductionists. This video is made to correct some of these misunderstandings. So, what do we deductionists do? We gather information and make conclusions about that information. The premise is simple. Is it simple to get to the same level as Sherlock? No. Do I know of someone that is on the same level as Sherlock? No, and I know quite a few deductionists. But there's a big reason why I don't know anyone that is at the same level as Sherlock. It's not that Sherlock is fictional. It's because of the perfect situations that Sherlock finds himself in. These happen, but not as often as Sherlock the series make it seem. First of all, you should try and remember OCC. This is the order in which you as a deductionist should operate. Observation. Here you observe the place or people you are deducing. There are things to look for if you have the knowledge. Some say you should observe everything, and sure, you should do that in a perfect world, but you won't be able to use everything you observe, so this will only waste time when you get into higher ranks of deduction. And if you want to know what to observe, then all you need to do is practice. Conclusion. The second step is to come to a conclusion from what you have observed. This is the deduction. We will talk more about this later on in the video. This will require both logic and knowledge. If you lack in one of these, then you'll need to train that. Confirmation. Now this is something most deductionists don't do because they are scared of failing. If you don't confirm if you're right, you'll hinder your own progress extremely. If you can confirm, always try to. Now, most break down deduction into two parts. Logic and knowledge. I think the knowledge part needs to be split into two parts. Absolute knowledge and statistical knowledge. This is important, I'll try and explain why, but first you need to know about the three kinds of deduction. Deduction. This reasoning is used when you have one or more statements that you combine to reach a logical conclusion. The reasoning is that if the statements are true and clear, the conclusion must be true. An example of deductive reasoning. Statements. 1. Pink is not a natural hair color. 2. Emily has pink hair. Conclusion. Someone or something has dyed Emily's hair pink. This is deduction in which you use absolute knowledge to make a deduction. If you truly use absolute knowledge, then the conclusion will be correct. Induction. In inductive reasoning, you come to a conclusion that's probable. The statements are viewed as strong evidence for your conclusion. An example of inductive reasoning. Statements. 1. There are marbles in this bag. 2. All 8 out of 10 marbles I have seen from this bag are black. Conclusion. All marbles from this bag are black. This doesn't tell you if the conclusion is true or not, but thanks to the strong evidence of the statements you're presented with, it's probable that the conclusion is true. This is statistical knowledge and will be true most of the time. Abduction. In abductive reasoning, you have the statements and from that you make an educated guess about what the conclusion might be. This reasoning is looking for the best explanation. An example of abductive reasoning. Statements. 1. The grass is wet. 2. The grass is usually dry. Conclusion. It has rained. This is something we deductionists often do. We always look for the best explanation based on the evidence we are provided. This, if done correctly, will also most often be true. This will often be your own conducted statistical knowledge. The reason why knowledge should be split into absolute knowledge and statistical knowledge is that if you have the logic, you'll never be wrong with absolute knowledge, but with statistical knowledge, you can still be wrong. Some tell you that logic is more important than knowledge and vice versa. This couldn't be more wrong. Logic and knowledge are equally important. Those who don't agree probably don't know that much about the category they are dismissing. Logic and knowledge should work together alongside each other. But if you want the wow effect, one of these triumph over the other. If you do a deduction via logic, people can often see your train of thought quite easily, especially if you explain it. If you do a deduction via knowledge, then people won't be able to follow your train of thought without that specific knowledge. And more people have a good logical mind than specific knowledge about everything. Something magicians have as a catchphrase nowadays are, people aren't stupid. And that's true. If you, the watcher of this video, thinks that most people are stupid, then you need to come out of that bubble of yours. So, can you yourself measure how good you are at deduction? No, not really. You'll always be biased towards yourself. So, if you like yourself, you'll probably think that you are better at deduction than you really are. If you think the worst of yourself, then you'll probably think that you're worse than you really are. Then we have the Dunning-Kruger effect. Most of you will probably, in the beginning, think you're better at deduction than you really are, because of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It predicts that beginners rate themselves to be better than they really are, while experts rate themselves to be worse than they really are. So no, you can't measure your skill level yourself. This point I'll make now is kind of connected to the previous one. Don't assume you are right. This would be really stupid. If you assume you're right, you fall for confirmation bias. This is when you look for things that would prove what you believe to be true, and miss things that disprove your theory. One more reason this is bad, I know deductionists that don't want to accept that they're wrong, even if it's confirmed. They think the one that tells them they're wrong are lying. This is extremely bad. Your knowledge about deduction will improve. In the beginning, before you start deduction, you'll probably have an unconscious ignorance towards it. When you start reading about it, you'll probably understand that you don't know much about it. So, you'll have an conscious ignorance towards it. After trying it out and really learning, you'll start noticing that you can deduce some things. You will have conscious knowledge towards deduction. When you've become an expert to master, you'll make deductions without thinking about them. You'll have an unconscious knowledge about deduction. Pattern: unconscious ignorance, conscious ignorance, conscious knowledge, unconscious knowledge. So, how do you get better in deduction? Practice. It might sound cliché, but it's true. But however, you can shorten the time quite much if you confirm your deductions. The second C in OCC is extremely important. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, then you can't improve. You won't get better just from watching this video. So go out there and make deduction, and most importantly, confirm your deductions. If you want me to make a video about confirming your deductions about people without the fear to fail, because if you fail, they won't know that you've failed, then vote about that in the poll up in the right-hand corner of this video. I would be happy to do that. Maybe I'll even teach you some mentalism routines to help with that. And with that, I'll see you, my irregulars.